Have you ever sat in front of the screen watching the fierce news about Iran, about war, secret alliances, nuclear weapons, and unnamed threats, and suddenly felt that the world was spinning too fast? You asked yourself, where is it all going? And where is God in all this? In a world in turmoil, we often feel small, helpless. But if there is something missing amid the big headlines, it is the silent story of God, still being written day after day in the very events that are just politics. Today, I invite you to sit down, like a quiet person entering a private room to listen to the Father's whisper, and let us listen to a story of genius recorded thousands of years ago in the Bible, a story about a land called Persia, which is today Iran. Did you know? Iran, a country that seems like a hot spot in the news, is a central character in a love story that runs from Genesis to Revelation. God has not only visited Iran in the past, but has also revealed its future, both light and darkness, safe judgment, and hope for restoration. And it is there that God once raised up an empire to save his people, and it is there that will one day be involved in the final events of humanity. But above all, this story is not just about a distant country. It is about the heart of God. Tram never forgets any people. He has judged, and the words still resonate today. I will restore some parts of Elam in the last days. Jeremiah 49:39. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery? This journey doesn't just take you through history. It takes you into the heart of a God at work. The journey of Iran, or rather Persia in the Bible, is not a random series of events. It is part of God's symphony, where every drumbeat of history resonates in his miraculous providence. We begin very early, right after the flood of Noah's time, when humanity was reborn from his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. In the book of Genesis, God blessed their descendants to form new nations, and it was from them that Madai and Elam were born, the two ancestors of the land that would become Iran today. Madai, the descendants of Japheth, gave birth to a people who lived in the mountains of northern Iran, strong, hardy people, as harsh as the nature in which they lived. Meanwhile, Elam, the son of Shem, settled in the south, the fertile plains near the Persian Gulf. They were two streams flowing into one river, the river called Persia. And then, something unexpected happened. In Genesis chapter 14, the Bible records the First International War. 4 kings from the east, including King Chedorlaomer of Elam, invaded Canaan, the land promised to God's people. They plundered, destroyed, and captured Lot, Abraham's nephew. But what no one expected was that one man, just one man with 318 trained servants, defeated the entire coalition of kings from the east. That man was Abraham, the father of faith, the one chosen by God to start a new nation. From that battle, a message resonated. No force, no matter how powerful, can defeat the people with whom God is. Yet God did not destroy Elam. He let them live, grow, multiply, because his plan was longer and deeper than anyone could have imagined. From invader to deliverer. Centuries passed. Kingdoms grew larger. Babylon emerged as a superpower, destroying Jerusalem, burning the temple, and taking the Israelites into exile. But in the midst of that darkness, God began to reveal a plan of redemption, and Persia was his chosen instrument. Through the prophet Isaiah, God called a man by name, 150 years before he was born. This is what the Lord says to his anointed one, to Cyrus. Isaiah 45:1. Cyrus, the young Persian king, was chosen by God to overthrow Babylon and command the Jews to return and rebuild the temple. The amazing thing is, Cyrus did not know God, did not worship him, but was still called by God as Anointed One, a sacred title usually reserved for prophets or holy kings. God used even foreigners to accomplish his loving plan. And indeed, Cyrus defeated Babylon in a remarkable way. Without bloodshed, his army diverted the Euphrates River and entered the city through the dry riverbed, while the city gates were left open. What the prophet Daniel had seen in his dream now became a reality. With a historic decree, Cyrus allowed God's people to return. He funded the rebuilding of the temple, provided property, and sent leaders like Zerubbabel and Joshua the priest along. No other nation in history had done that. And Persia, in that moment, became an instrument of restoration, not destruction, a woman, a miracle. As the Persian Empire entered its heyday, another story unfolded, this time not on the battlefield, but in the palace of King Ahasuerus, Xerxes. An orphan girl named Esther, a Jew from exile, was brought to the palace after a rigorous selection. She was chosen by the king to be his queen, but no one knew that she was from a despised people. Then a terrible plot was hatched. Haman, the powerful minister, planned to exterminate all the Jews in the empire. Once again, God's people faced death. Only one person could save them, Esther. But to do so, she would have to face death, because it was forbidden to enter the king's presence without permission, unless the king extended his scepter of grace. In fear, she prayed. Then, with incredible courage, she stepped in, and God extended his scepter through the king's hand. The story of Esther shows something great. God can use the weak, the unknown, the forgotten, to bring about the salvation of an entire nation. And once again, Persia, rather than being destroyed, became the site of God's miracle, a terrifying prophecy, and the hope of restoration. But Persia was not always an instrument of light. The prophet Daniel, in a series of terrifying dreams, saw a giant beast, a bear leaning on its side, representing the empires of Media and Persia. The 3 ribs in its mouth represented 3 conquests: Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. God showed that Persia's power did not come from faith, but from his permission, and that when the time came, he would let another empire destroy it, the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great. Then the Bible takes us to Revelation and Ezekiel, where Persia appears again, this time in the alliance of Gog and Magog, along with other nations such as Cush and Put, attacking Israel in the end times. But God declares, "I will be angry. I will execute judgment with fire, earthquake, and confusion, that the nations may know that I am the Lord." Persia, once a deliverer, is now an adversary. But is that the end? A forgotten promise. In a little-known verse, the prophet Jeremiah said of Elam, ancient Persia, "I will break the bow of Elam, but in the end I will restore it." Jeremiah 49:39. A saying that is like a light at the end of the tunnel. After judgment, there is restoration. After darkness, there is hope. God does not abandon any people. He is humble in judgment, but great in love. And even Iran today, with all its divisions, hatred, politics, is still in God's hands. Perhaps after listening to the story of Persia, Iran today, you will no longer look at the news about this country with the same eyes. Because behind the news reports, there is still a silent plan of God, continuing to unfold through each generation. From the plains of Elam to the throne of Cyrus, from Esther's fateful banquet to the star that guided the Magi from the east, God is not absent. He is there, whether in judgment or restoration, whether in darkness or light. Iran, Persia, with both glory and rejection, both noble traditions and wrong choices, but like all peoples, they still belong to God's eternal plan. And if there is one thing that remains intact from Genesis to Revelation, it is this: God never closes the door of hope. In the words of the prophet Jeremiah, "I will restore the fortunes of Elam in the last days." Those words still resonate for today, for those who still believe, who still have hope. Dear friend, This world is still moving amidst hidden wars, bad news, and turmoil. But remember, God is still working, silently, persistently, powerfully. And if you look deep enough, quiet enough, you will see, even when everything seems meaningless, He is still writing the greatest love story in human history. That story includes you too. So today, stop for a moment. Take a deep breath, and instead of being afraid of what is to come, whisper in your heart, "Lord, I believe that you are in control. Though darkness may fill me, I choose light. Though the world is in turmoil, I choose hope." Live as a person of faith, because even in the most distant places, God is very close. End of video message. If today's story enlightens or comforts your heart, please share it with others. And if you see a prophetic connection to what is happening in the world, please leave a comment, because as we ponder together, God can use us as little lights in the darkness. May the peace of God be with you, today and until the end of time.